Hello everyone, it is Dark Symphony 777, and it's that time of the year again! Yes, that time late in the year where instead of doing any reviews or gameplay stuff, I'm still going to do gameplay stuff, I decided to look at all the fanfictions I reviewed throughout the entire year and rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 to see which one is the top dog. As always, I'll leave a link to the stories in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story, and finally, my opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So before I get into the top 10, let's leave a honorable mention to all the Better Off Alone tier stories that actually couldn't be counted because they were too good. So let's just get them through with them. They are Pain of the Past Redux by Starlit Duck, Tune Service by Superflox, The Stranger I Am by Cyber Wraith 9, Ghost and Liars by Beyond Floating, and Contest of Champions by that guy Vex. These 5 stories were really, really good, and they were just too good for the story. Honestly, if I put all 5 of them, Contest of Champions would be number 1. That story just blew everything else out of the water except for maybe Ghost and Liars. That's probably the only story that could possibly hold its own against Contest of Champions. But I had to leave these 5s off for a good reason. Now, before I get into the top 10, also ignore that Steam demo. I was downloading something. There is something really weird with this top 10 in the fact that there is something of a unifying theme to the entire top 10, and that is character dynamics. Character dynamics are a series of interwoven. I can't really go into too much detail, but just know that all 10 stories have a really, really good character dynamic between the 2 main characters. Yeah, all 10 of these stories have 2 main characters, and the unified theme is they work really well together. Don't know how that came about, but let's actually start with the actual number 10, and it is Shadow's Emissary Redux by Starlit Duck. It is a really solid remake, or redux, if you want to, as the official title is, of arguably one of the worst stories she's ever written. It's kind of sad, but I'm happy the remake actually more than made up. It fixed all the issues I had with the original. It's just an overall solid story. These first couple, I'm not going to really have too much to say. I do like the dynamic between Wendy Koopa and Pom Pom. There's that dynamic. And it's just a really entertaining story that just starts it off. Number 9 is the return of Tambalon between Rainbow and Double Dash. With the dynamic with this story, it's the Luna Main 6 and Corona. If you actually read the Lunaverse, or specifically you're watching the videos during the summer, I basically went through all of the dang Lunaverse Season 2 stories. This was the first big one. This one, of course, had Tambalon, this gigantic island country, kind of coming back, and the Lunaverse, and eventually also Corona having to deal with the situation. It has Grogar, which is this very frightening-looking skeletal ram lich. It's a really good story, and it is number 9. Yeah, again, sorry. Oh wait, I decided to switch that around. Number 8 is Tifu Detective Agency Case 10 Soku. Okay, so this is where I was completely split over this one and the next one, but I ultimately decided to give the other story, you already saw a glimpse of it, number 7 instead of number 8. I think this story is just not as entertaining. This story is still a very funny story. I still regret the state of what happened with the Hifu Detective Agency stories. Like, once we got past Mountain of Fate, like, I am still kicking myself for how badly the quality went down. I still haven't forgiven the author for going, oh yeah, we're gonna have Renko just sexually assault Sine just to get a rise out of Mary. I still don't like that. It's just No, I don't like that. I don't care if it was actually tickling. It's just bad. Just why did you have to do this? And why did you have to? Why did you have to go full bore and make Renko and Mary Sue? I don't never know. But this story, thank God, this was like the one really good story, and the mixed of all the shit with a more comedic tone. All the Bigo references. Bigo's again one of my favorite animes of all time. Just honestly, just the climax is just ridiculous. Of like Sane inside Sensoku just operating the next thing. He's like, I gotta no, we gotta make this fun, and everyone's kind of playing along and like even like the explosions is like hiya, and like Alice just making the doll just go down twice and explode twice. Like, well, it's a really entertaining story. I'm still happy that this existed, but yeah, I it's number 8. Now we get to the big stuff. Number 7, The World Above by Super Mario Bros. Ultimate. I was caught up I was caught off guard by how entertaining the story was. Like if you listened to my review on the story, I was not expecting the story to be as good as it was. I once I finished reading it, it's like, okay, it's good. But going back to it for this video, I realized, wait a minute, this is better than I even gave it credit for. Of course, the dynamic between Pearl and Brittany, honestly, I think it was Brittany. Hold on, because of the 3 Bs. Let me a second. Nope, Belle. Brittany was the autistic one. Belle is just their dynamic is just hilarious. It's just Pearl's just being the wide-eyed Rocky girl, and Belle being like the tough son bitch who just like the answer to any of life's questions. Pearl, yes, is punching really hard, but that doesn't make any sense. It makes sense to me. I just that is something they would do. She would do. I really loved the entertaining. It's very simple. It's a more wholesome story compared to what's coming up next. I ultimately decided to give this the edge over Soku, mainly because even even though this is the best of the latter half of the detective agency stories, Renko is still an insufferable person. It's just even the best story. She's just like impossible to like. I don't know. But World Above, it's a it's a very entertaining friendship story. Like the group dynamics is really well done. I love the fact that the plot is just it's nothing complicated. It's just like we found this girl. We got to get her home. You with me? Yay, yay! Huh? Brittany? I'm reading a book. Okay, read your book. Yay! It's just it's really entertaining. I don't. It's just this is like one of those stories you need to read yourself. It's very entertaining. I love it. Number 6, Crisis on Two Equestrians by Rainbow Double Dash. So this is the last one before the top 5, and oh boy, what do I have to say about the story? I love the idea of the main universe, Gen 4, and the Luniverse take of Gen 4, kind of interacting and meeting, and Trixie just going mad. It's like, it's Corona, Corona, Corona. When like the moment she sees Princess Celestia because of cars, she doesn't realize she's in a completely different universe. And a lot of the humor is in it with like the Trixies and the Twilights interacting with each other, and even like the more comedic moments like with Luna and Celestia just like constantly making fun of their own fashion choices. Like, oh yeah, you want to see what I wore? Gigantic 12-foot long wig, and Celestia's like, nonsense. Have you seen this collar? And it's like a collar as wide as her wings. It's like, oh, that's a good one. And even the villain is like, oh, it's like the whole bait and switch. Like, I am Twixie, which is like the ship name between Twilight and Trixie. It's like, wait, that's not my name. It's like, sure. And it is a very overall fun story. I just think everything else above it is just much better. But now we get to the top five. Yeah, there's not much going to be going into this top five. Well, these first five, but these top five, I'm going to get more in depth. First one is Unacceptable by Anticipate. It is. It's not as good as Blanked Out. His previous story that I reviewed last year with Blonde from Neptunia. This story is good. I love the dynamic between Kotaru and all the girls. How each chapter is kind of just dissecting how their dynamic between him and the girls interact with each other, as well as interact with him. It's very abridged. I don't like the fact that you need to know. Granted, I do have Rewrite in my Steam wish list. I do eventually plan on getting it. Who knows? Maybe I'll do like a let's play of it. I don't know. That'll probably be a long way off. Yeah, I still like 4 games to get through, and then probably like the rest of the Toho franchise. But Unacceptable is a really solid story. The only reason it's not higher, because I was really split between this one and which one would be number 5, which one would be 4, is ultimately the reliance on knowing a specific route to understand what's going on with the story. Sure, it's something new with these types of visual novel stories, but it is still a bar that you need to cross, and ultimately, me, like my bad habit of like whenever there's a game I want to play, I specifically go out of my way to avoid looking at footage at it because I don't want to be spoiled, and I don't want to like bother myself. I think like the last time I did that was Don't Be Afraid. But I was like, Don't Be Afraid was just very boring, and I ultimately took that off my Steam wish list and stuff like that because, good God, that game playing the demo was just I just didn't want to play it. It just came off as dull and uninteresting. And so horror puzzle game. Well, it's just mostly a walking simulator, a very boring walking simulator. Eh. But yeah, Unacceptable, really good story. But then that doesn't triumph. Love is a Jolly Holiday. Oh boy, this story, this story. I really love this story. I love the dynamic of showcasing Mary Poppins meeting a younger Anna and Elsa. I really love that dynamic, the dynamic between the mother, the father, and the children. How Mary Poppins, bridges the whole thing together. I'll say it again when I said in my review. Sure, Mary Poppins doesn't have any character development in the story, but that's the whole point of Mary Poppins. She's supposed to be someone who's specifically designed to help other characters. So Mary Poppins not developing as a character fits. So I overall loved it. The dynamic between Anna and Elsa and Mary Poppins, the whole family feud, even like the implication that the sequel hook that she's gonna go help out Rapunzel. I still want to see that. I still want her to call up Nanny McPhee. It's like, oh, let's do this. And everything with that. The entertaining parts were like showcasing like the fractured family that the the Ariandales have. It's a really good story. I don't have anything much to say about it. Well, anything much else. Go watch my review on that. Then we get to the controversial one. For the longest time, I'm gonna be honest. I wanted this story to be number 1. I really did, because good God, if we're talking about what is the story that has the best characters, or at least the best character arc, it would be the story with Monica. Like, Monica's character in this story is it's just phenomenal. You just get a feel of the despair and the trauma that she has to deal, all the stuff that she has to deal with throughout the entire story, and then eventually kind of inadvertently bringing with Sayori and Natsuki and Yuri. It's all really well done, and the dynamic between Sayori and Monica, especially near the end, and it's just phenomenal. And of course, There's chapter 20 fucking 8. Chapter 28 is without doubt one of the most emotional things I've ever read. Ever. It is that one chapter. It's just it's so phenomenal. And I remember reading through it the first time earlier this year and just crying and just how beautiful and haunting the story it is. So now you're wondering, why is it not number one? You clearly said you wanted this story to be number one. Why is it not number one? That goddamn amnesia side plot. That I oh that amnesia side plot that happened to Sayori just was such a problem with like the large portion of the story that I had to drag it out of first place and even second place because it's one thing when you're like, okay, we're going to do an amnesia plot. Because I don't think an amnesia plot by itself is bad. Problem is, the amnesia plot caused Sayori and Monica's dynamic to kind of just run in place for like a large portion of the story with like no advancement because of that specific plot. And it was such an issue. It's still to this day the biggest problem I have in any story, any good story that I reviewed. I, I mean, if we're being real, if the amnesia plot was done well in the story, this wouldn't even be on the list because it'd probably be better off lone tier. Because the story is that good. Like the amnesia plot is what's keeping it out of better off alone tier because it's just that big an issue. And that really kind of speaks with the sheer level of quality for the longest time had because it's a legitimately really great story. I and it pains me to have to put this in third because I really when I got to the final three, I was like I was trying to pick between the top three, and it's like okay, does this one belong here? This belong here? And every time when I was trying to like get this story to like second or first place, I kept thinking of that amnesia story play. It's like, no, I can't. And it got too much, especially once you get into the nitty gritty, like why I was like putting them in the certain places. That that amnesia side plot just proved too much. I do think, like quality wise, this story is probably just like in terms of pure writing, like in terms of how well the pure writing it is for the longest time is better than number one and number two, and even probably better than this story, and this story. With only really with only these two stories being better. Which oh wait, wrong one. That's something for later. That's wrong one too. Which kind of speaks to how big a bugbear this amnesia thing was that it dragged it out of the tier and put it down here, and that's kind of like that just really is a kick in the teeth. But now we move on to number two. That is Patient Confidentiality by Mademoiselle Anime Amour. The Scarecrow thing. I this is another story I wanted to put in number one. Like, it's not as good as For the Longest Time, but this doesn't. But that's ultimately the reason why this story and number one are better. Is that doesn't have a big ass like a big ass plot line issue. I need to stop talking about the amnesia thing. Okay, Patient Confidentiality is a really good drama romance. I loved Scarecrow. I loved Amelia. I think the dynamics was really well. The whole psychological battle of wills between the two is like Scarecrow's trying to figure out like how Amelia functions, and Amelia just constantly one upping Scarecrow, and then Scarecrow trying to one up her but failing, and like even at the end where he like willingly decides to quit crime mainly because like I met someone who's like matches me intellectually. This never happened before. A Scarecrow. Yes, Crane. You want to turn good? I mean, we can turn good. We can't kill people. No, we can't scare people. No, we can't traumatize people. No, I don't want. No. They met someone who was like who gave me something I've wanted forever. Someone intellectually on my level. Maybe I could, I could turn off a side of good to eventually, continue conversation with her. It's like, are you sure you want to do this, Crane? Yeah, I'm fine with this, Scarecrow. All right, go for it. Just, if it backside on you, I can rub it in your face. Fine, you can rub it in my face. I like their dynamic was really well done. It's really entertaining. I love the darker aspects. It is, I guess you could say, a dark romance in a way because it does border on that. It's kind of like a border on between a regular romance and a dark romance. Like, but it depends on like the person reading it and their whole mindset and stuff like that. But I think Patient Confidentiality is a really, really great dynamic, a great story, has a good dynamic. I love the plot of Amelia just constantly trying to dig in Scarecrow's brain and then having to butt heads with him. I think it's a really entertaining story. So yeah, hats off to Miss Amour. Now we get to number one. I know. Bear with me. You're thinking, why is this story, this random ass story, number one? Dynamic. Yep, dynamic. This story has the most entertaining dynamic of any group, barring Monica and Sayori. This has a really good dynamic in Wendis and Mario, and that's like the themes. Like this one is Wendy and Pom Pom. This is the main six and Corona. This was Maribel and Renko. This is Pearl and Belle, Trixie and Twilight, Kotaru and the girls, uh, Mar- Mary Poppins and Elsa and Anna, Monica and Sayori, Amelia and Scarecrow, Wendis and Mario. But it's just an overall solid entertainment story. I really and but all you're wondering why this one? How did this one get number one? I wasn't expecting the story to be number one. I was expecting the story to be like fifth, maybe fourth place. And when I went through going through the top 10, this one kept kind of worming its way higher and higher. And like I get to the top 5, it's like, oh, this is still here. Huh. I thought back, it's like, wait a minute, I think would it make a number one? It's like I thought I went back in my memory and like looked at like all the stories I reviewed, and it got to number 5, and it got to number 4, and then it got to these three. And it's like, and then I had to get rid of this, so it's down to Goomboid and Patient Confidentiality. And it's like, am I really gonna put this story number 1? And I thought back like which dynamic was better? Was it the dynamic between Amelia and Scarecrow or Wendis and Mario? It's like it's this one. And ultimately I had to make Goomboid Prime the number 1. I think it's like the first non-dedicated, because like if you remember my first top 10, I did like multiple because I did multiple years before I doing the top 10, and I did a separate one where it's just all where it was all crossovers. I think this is the first crossover post that to actually become number 1, which is actually shocking to think about. but I loved the plot. Let's talk about the dynamic. I loved what the author did with the dynamic of having Mario be the more jokey guy to play off the ultra serious Wendis Oran, who's who's basically the straight man that Mario usually is, but turned up to 11 because she she kind of is so straight laced that everyone kind of backs away from her because she intimidates everyone because she's used to being alone, and their growing familiarity with each other to like where they fight and they argue, but then they come closer together to the point where they actually see themselves as like sort of like brother and sister sort of deal. They see themselves as like family, and just the characters of like Mario playing like not only jokey but also like he's still Mario that we all know, but like, we have Wendis who's just this tall Amazonian buff Wendy Koopa who takes like no prisoners. Is like, okay, how do we make Samus? How do we make like a Mario version of Samus? Let's turn her into Koopa. Let's turn her like someone who's incredibly foul mouthed and also like who's not afraid of just telling like being super blunt with the whole thing. I like Samus's like whole quiet warrior aesthetic, which really worked with Mario's more jokey attitude. Like Wendy's causticness bouncing off Mario's jokiness. They their dynamic was just that good, and of course the plot. Having the events of Metroid Prime, but instead of like traditional Metroid Prime, it's just everything is Mariofied. Like Ridley being combined with Birdo and like the space pirate leader being like an evil version of Mario, and of course you get the whole dynamic once Counselor Peach joins in and she has her own suit, and Wendy and Wendis and Mario kind of bouncing off her, and it's a really solid story. If there's any, I would recommend these three stories. Just beware of the whole amnesia stuff with this one. But if you're a Mario fan, you can't go wrong with Good Boy Prime. I think it's a really solid story. Has a phenomenal character dynamic. The plot, how it implements the crossover dynamic of not just a straight one for one crossover. It's basically just Metroid, but with like a bunch of Mario elements, so it feels like its own thing rather than like, oh, Mario meeting Samus. No, it's Mario meeting a buff Wendy, and then of course the ending where Wendis basically asks like, okay, Ead, yeah, how long that portal stay open? 40 minutes. All right. And then just basically just curb stomp. Then she just proceeds to curb stomp all of Bowser's army and just kick his ass. It's like, oh, I know you now. It's like, who is that? Why does she look like me? Quiet, Wendy. I didn't say anything. Like, just the ending of like Wendy's just arresting Bowser. It's like, I'm taking it with me. You don't have to deal with him anymore. Goodbye. And like even like Bowser the Koopalings kind of just either going to like adoption agencies or Ludwig because he's too old, working with Egad, and I think Wendy like getting taught trying to annoy Wendis. It's like I really, it's just a really good story. I really think this is a great story. I really, I still wish we could see more Wendy's because I think you can make an argument like, oh yeah, we can just do more with her because she's one of those characters that I think more people should just use if they're trying to do like a Metroid version of Mario. It's like, oh, you want to do a crossover? Just use Wendy's. She's right there. I'm actually curious. Is this author still writing? No. Yeah, just use Wendis. Like, just read the story. Look at what Wendis stick, like what Wendis is, and just use her in your own stories. I would really love to see, like, just Wendis as a like the character, just in other stories. I think Wendis as a core character is just an overall solid original character. I think it's fine. I don't have anything more to say on this top 10. I will see you next time. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.